just started raining. It has been torrential downpour all day yesterday, off and on today. Of course, right now it's on, and it's going to be this way for like the next 4 days. It's great. Can you hear it? I wonder if you can hear it. I don't know. As long as it doesn't start thundering, it's fine. Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today is BookList Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library. And every Thursday we bring you some sort of list or topic about books that we want to talk about that week. And this week we decided, since tomorrow is Flag Day here in the US, Flag Day, why not? We decided to talk about books that are set in different countries that would kind of represent different flags. So we thought that was kind of a fun idea. And we definitely both had at least 5 books that were set in different countries that we could talk about. And I do have 5 that I'm going to talk about. I tried to not include the UK just because I have a ton of books set in the UK. And I think a lot of us do. I think the US and the UK are kind of the more popular places where books are set, but I do have one UK. I kind of put like one of my most recent favorites books that's set in the UK. So I'll save that one for last. And the first one I want to talk about, we are going to go to 19th century China, and that is Snowflower and the Secret Fan by Lisa C. Lisa C writes a lot of books that are set in China, and I want to read more of them for sure because I loved this book so much. This follows 2 young girls who, as children, they are paired up together and pretty much said, you guys are going to be friends for life, and go. And they are. And the way that they communicate majority of the time, especially when they're young, is they write on paper fans, and they have their own little language, and that's how they communicate, so that, you know, anyone who picks up their fans can't, you know, look and see what they're talking about. So they definitely have that sense of privacy that way. And these 2 girls definitely, you know, grow up in communication throughout their whole lives, and you see where their lives go, how they're there for each other. This book broke my heart. It also made me cry, which doesn't happen very often, but this one got me for sure, and I loved it. So if you want a good book that is set in China, and even though this is a historical book set in China, this one is fantastic. So definitely recommend. Now the recycling's here. I'm just going to wait for them to finish up. All right, the next one that I want to talk about, we are going to go to a deserted island in the Maldives, and that is On the Island by Tracy Garvis Graves. And I loved this book. I flew through it so quickly. This follows a 30-year-old English teacher. She is pretty stuck in her life. She feels she's not in a very healthy relationship, thinking about ending it, and just kind of feels like she's a little bit at a standstill. There is also a 16-year-old boy who is struggling with cancer, and he has been in the hospital a lot, which means he has lost a lot of school time. Now that puts him behind a little bit. His parents would like him to, you know, continue on to the next grade, so they hire this teacher as a summer tutor to travel with them to their summer home, which is on an island, and to work with him over the summer and get him caught up to be able to go on to the next grade. Now, the teacher and the student are on a private jet, and they are traveling together without his parents. I don't quite remember what the situation was that it was just those 2 without the parents. I think the parents had gone ahead and then they came after, but they're flying in this teeny tiny private jet, and the jet goes down over the water, and they make their way to a deserted island. And I mean, deserted. There's nothing on this island but trees and sand, and that is it. Nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows that they're there, and they have to survive on this island, and they are there for quite a while. I loved this book so much. It's a great summer read if you guys are looking for, you know, some summery type of reads too, because it is on an island. It does it's not just set in the summer. It goes over a span of some years, but oh my gosh, I couldn't put it down. Their survival story was incredible, and I had to keep turning the pages to know what was going to happen, and it was fantastic. So definitely highly, highly, highly recommend this book. Now we're going to go with another historical fiction. This one is set in Iceland, and that is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. I loved this book. This book was incredibly interesting, and it actually follows a true person who was the first woman to be sentenced to death in Iceland. It was the first or last? It's the last. Had to double check. The last woman to be sentenced to death in Iceland. And it was a true story. Like, there was actually this woman who was sentenced to death for this crime, but a lot of liberties were, you know, to be taken with this book because I don't think there's a lot of information out there on her. But I thought Hannah Kent did a really great job telling the story, and I was super invested in all the characters. I really wanted to know if this woman actually did this because she's convicted of murdering 2 people. And I was like, did she do this? And, you know, are they able to prove it? And she's staying with these people on this farm, and that's how they handled prisoners back then. They didn't have prisons. They would take these prisoners to live with families on a farm and in isolation, you know, pretty much. And like, that was terrifying for me. I was terrified for the family. It's like, are they going to be okay? And it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed this book. I don't talk about it enough on here, but it's a good one. The next one is going to take us to Afghanistan, and this one is written by an author that I love. I have read all his books, and gosh, I hope he writes some more adult work. But that's Khaled Hosseini. My favorite of his has been A Thousand Splendid Suns. He also wrote The Kite Runner, and he also wrote And the Mountains Echoed, and I read those as well and loved both of them too. This one was my favorite of the 3 from what I remember. It's been a very, very long time since I've read these. I could actually stand to do a reread. But this one, I remember just, it hit me really hard. So this is set in Afghanistan, and it follows different generations of the same family and some friendships that they had that were very prevalent. And you see, I remember specifically a friendship between these 2 women, and it was just heartbreaking. And just the things that they were having to go through with, you know, there were some scenes with the Soviet Union that were happening. There were some scenes with the Taliban and the post-Taliban and things like that. The Taliban is terrifying. And it's hard for me to describe it right now because I'm very fuzzy on the exact storyline in here. But I do remember it spans different generations and just some of the things that they were having to go through and how the country was changing as well. But this man writes beautifully, and I could clearly picture everything that was happening in there. I do remember that, and just picturing the landscape that he was describing just because he wrote it so well. And yeah, I could definitely stand to reread this one. I think I might sometime here soon, but it's fantastic. So definitely recommend this author, and of the 3, I remember this one being my favorite. All right, time for my UK one. Now, I have a lot of books set in the UK. It's a very popular place. There are a lot of very popular UK authors as well who tend to write, you know, from their own country, just like American writers tend to do as well. And the most recent one that I can really say this was one of my favorites was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I loved this book so much. I read it really quickly because it's one of those books that it keeps you guessing. Nothing is black and white. There's a lot of gray area. You're left thinking, oh, but what if it's this? Oh, but what about this? And you're trying to figure out if this woman who was accused of killing her husband actually killed her husband. She has gone completely mute. She is not talking to anybody. You're lucky if you get even eye contact. You're lucky if you get that from her. So she is sentenced to be in a mental institution, basically. They're pretty much claiming that she's completely out of it. And she's also very violent, though. She has had a couple episodes where she has physically attacked people, which kind of makes you think maybe she actually did kill her husband. And then we are also following a psychologist who deliberately goes to work at this hospital because he wants to work with her. He wants to be the one to break her. He wants to be the one to get her to open up and to talk and tell her story. And oh my gosh, the twists and turns this thing took was mind blowing. It was so good. I have not had a book shock me like this in quite a while. It's been a while, and that's all I'm going to say. I loved it. If you haven't picked it up, please do. It is set in London, and it's fantastic. Okay, guys, those are 5 books that are set in different countries to help celebrate Flag Day. Make sure you go check out Lindsay's and see what she talks about today. Let me know down below if you guys have read any of these. And also let me know down below what some of your favorite books are that are set in different countries from yours. Wherever you live, a book that's set somewhere else. Let me know what some of those are too. Or if you have, really popular books from your own country, let us know down below too. Like, I would love to know what kind of books are popular in your country. And we will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.